Welcome to Sanación Holística Funcional podcast. My name is Mar. I'm a health mentor and your host today. In this episode, you'll get to know more about Dr. Alan Bittaker. He's a chiropractor who integrates network spinal and the founder of the Center of a New Paradigm.
Hi, Mar. Thank you for having me. So good to be here.
Yes. So for anyone listening, I want to start this space just sharing a little bit how I connected with you, Dr. Allen, how I found you. I think it was like probably February 2020, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a it was 2021 because I had a car accident on December 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already into this spiritual, holistic world, was doing breath work. I had already known techniques, I'm a health mentor, so I'm integrating this with my clients also. But then I integrate this with my clients on chronic illness, stuff that builds up with time because of many different things. But I had no experience how to deal with a car accident, pain, shock.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional alternatives weren't working for me. And I found you through Instagram. I don't know how I got on a call. And to make the story short, I was in the energy flow mastery. That's a container I took, was 3 months. And I remember I had this pain that was really connected with anytime someone talked to me about the car event, this physical pain was triggered and I couldn't understand the connection and I couldn't manage the connection. And I was limiting my life, like my day-to-day life, how I felt that I could use my body. And making the story short, and the reason why I feel it's such an honor to have you here and from anyone listening to really listen to what I'm going to talk about was because before those 3 months ended on the container, I think it was like half of the program, I was able to have no pain. None of the other things had worked for me. And not only that, but how I was able to relate to that and move through that season of my life. And the tools I learned were amazing. I've been able to integrate them 2 years plus since that moment. And yes, that's how I met you. And I'm just like, while I'm telling this story and it's like how the universe works, I'm just curious, like, how do you got into all of this mixing chiropractor work with network spinal, energetics, all of those goodies. How do you got till today?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your story. It feels rewarding for me to hear about your experience. And I'm so happy that we work together. I remember, and I'm being reminded now of how magical and powerful you are. So thanks for having me, and thanks for being a part of my program and trusting me and going all in and getting the results. I think it's really beautiful, magical work and technology. And it's a true honor to share it. And I think that, I feel connected with you. And I think one of the reasons is that I am excited and passionate about wholeness and health from all perspectives. And my bachelor's was in nutrition, and I played sports in high school, and I grew up being very active. And I also grew up in the Western medicine situation where I was having a lot of health challenges growing up. And that's really what started to lead me into nutrition and alternative forms of healing. And I ended up going to chiropractic school, mostly because I wanted to become a functional medicine practitioner. And so I don't think I ever told you that.
No.
And yeah, and so I was really inspired by a practitioner that I had, and that and while I was seeing that practitioner, he was a chiropractor and he was a functional medicine practitioner. I was also working at a chiropractic clinic doing nutrition counseling and doing CrossFit coaching. And I that was a period of time in my life where I was also exploring spirituality in new ways. And so it was kind of like, for me, an underground study of something that I was getting really curious about. I use the word curious, kind of slightly obsessed. And I was reading Joe Dispenza, I was reading Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer. I was reading all of these books. And I went to chiropractic school, and I really lucked out in going to one of the chiropractic schools. There's like 3 out of 13 in the United States that are based in a philosophical principle of merging man the physical with man the spiritual. So a lot of chiropractic has really gone in the direction of Western medicine. And yeah, there's a whole lot in that box to unpack. And at the end of the day, chiropractors, they get, certified by Western medicine in certain ways. So I had a hard time in school because I was obsessed about learning about the healing process and how, like, how does it actually happen? How does life actually happen? What's happening here? And school was mainly focused on the disease process. So it was pretty miserable for me. And so I wasn't the best student, but I went to so many seminars and I really surrounded myself with amazing people, and I got so much out of school. And I started to learn about network spinal. Network spinal is a chiropractic technique or modality that focuses on the nervous system and how the nervous system is interacting with the greater system, and what are the patterns that it's running, and how is it holding on to energy, or how is it binding tension. And it's a really beautiful practice that I got so excited about and decided to go all in and and like invest all of myself into this technique and learned as much as I could about it. And it was really freaking beautiful. And then I started a practice in California when I graduated that was successful and fun and awesome. And when COVID rolled around, I started doing online programs because it seemed like an opportunity to do that. And I'm so glad that I did, because
Yes, me too.
yeah, because it was just so cool, and I'm still doing virtual programs. And all of the work has really opened me up in new, profound ways that, and I'm learning about other techniques that I've implemented into my in-person care. And yeah, it's been really, really special and beautiful and a total blessing. And so a lot of the concepts and ideas that I use in network spinal, I just take into coaching containers, or I take into online containers that support people. And the whole idea is building our awareness and learning about the journey of healing and learning about our human operating system. And one of the biggest things that I notice happens that can get in the way of our own healing processes is our belief systems. And really what we believe is possible in many ways dictates our reality. And so in a big way, when I'm working with someone in person, I'm just kind of blowing their mind in what's possible. You know what I mean? Like with energy is one thing, but it's also my certainty in what's possible. And I feel so blessed because that's something that that's something I use when I just live my life in general, is opening up what's possible and breaking through the conditioning of the mind. And so on the table and off the table, something that I work with often are survival strategies and coping mechanisms.
Mm.
This is something that I've introduced more and more actually since we've worked together more. And
Yes.
yeah, and it's basically, what do we do subconsciously when we don't feel safe? And
Mhm.
when we're not feeling safe in our bodies, safe in our experiences, what strategies have we implemented from younger levels of consciousness to generate safety and to get our needs met? And how are we using those same strategies now in our lives? And how are those kind of sabotaging our experiences and our opportunities? Because those strategies create safety, but they don't often create opportunities for thriving.
Yes.
And so the biggest thing that I love to do for people is to start to direct them in opening their awareness in ways where they can experience themselves beyond their thoughts. And so for many people, being in their thoughts and being in their mind and identifying with their thoughts is actually a coping strategy to not feel the physical pain in their body or to not feel the emotional pain in their body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Sorry,
if we're
go
not,
ahead.
yeah, if we're not feeling it, if we're not getting with it, if we're not bringing safety and resource and experience, if we're not processing what's happening, then there's really no opportunity for change, right? Our awareness brings so much life force and so much opportunity and so much love that is basically magic, so we're kind of programming reality with our awareness and the attention that we place on it, including ourselves. And so the beliefs that we have about our healing process, the way that we're experiencing ourselves in our healing process are all really primary ways to break through the limitation of our we'll call it condition or disease process. And the disease or condition, I use these words lightly, dis-ease or condition, I would say, is like experience, is I think like our body and our parts. It's like the manifestation of our experience, and it's wanting to show us something. It's revealing something to us about who we are, how we're living life, how can we be in more authenticity, how can we be in more alignment. And I think all of our life is a reflection of that. It's just feedback.
Yes. Yes. I love this. And I think, especially to people that's listening, probably people that have been dealing with chronic pain or any situations, sensations on their body that are not the most comfortable for a while. And as part of surviving, we tend to try to ignore that. Let me try to numb that. Let me try to not look that way. I'll take this pill, or I'll focus on whatever else. I'll scroll on my Instagram, but I'm not paying attention to that pain. And sometimes it's, as we talk, it's part of trying to survive. But then comes this other part that you were talking about, and I think it's very important to talk a little bit more. How are we expecting for us to be able to heal something in our bodies that we are not present with, that there's a part in our body that it's not being seen? How are we going to heal that? And for me, it was mind-blowing when I learned this with you, how the AAA concept and all of this. Don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Really beautiful. The AAA is a framework that is basically used in all of the wisdom traditions. It's called something else, or it's maybe described in a different way, but it's like, how can we be present moment per moment with what's arising? And how can we accept it is as it is and allow it to evolve in the moment? And so AAA is awareness, acknowledgement, and acceptance. And awareness is having the capacity to actually see what's happening, right? It's being aware of what's happening. And the other option is to to not be aware of it. And I'm trying to think of it's obvious, but I'm trying to think of another way to actually frame that. But it's like, there's a lot in life that we can walk around and not even be aware of, right? And especially if we're in pain, we can basically just compartmentalize and not experience it, right? Or we can numb it, or we can write it off as, like, an example that I like to use is like, say there's a specific part of my elbow hurts when I do a specific movement, right? But my mind can compartmentalize it and say, oh, I've got a bad arm, right? Or I've got a bad elbow. And my mind might even write it off and be like, oh, it hurts all the time, right? Until we start getting aware, bring awareness to it and be like, actually, it's just the inside tip here. And it's when I extend fully, and it's when I feel inflamed and after I eat like certain foods, right? So awareness and then acknowledgement is, how can I allow myself to fully feel it? How can I like embrace it? How can I welcome it into my experience? Because what we resist tends to persist. And the function of our mind is to judge. And when we judge something, there's a level of constriction, and it makes it out to be that way, right? So so by experiencing it fully, we're allowing it to basically move. And by accepting it, we're not resisting it. We're accepting it as it is. And by allowing it to move and allowing the energy to move, we're opening it up to transitioning and evolving into something new. And it doesn't have to be stuck at that point, because we're allowing ourselves to fully feel it. And so, yeah, those are some of the things around AAA that I find super powerful.
Yes, they are. And these things could be so simple, yet we are not taught about acknowledging ourselves. And I remember this specific part of the pain I was having, and how it was like, no, it's not my whole body is in pain. It's actually this little part of my neck that it's bothering when I am doing this, and this. And how I am expecting for my body to be able to process that part of pain if I am not feeling it. And also, like, at least from my perspective, feelings aren't really valued. Like, if you are someone that is that it's able to express their feelings, can sometimes even be looked as someone weak. Mm-hmm. So makes a lot of sense on this acknowledgement and really feeling whatever it is, how we are experts on not feeling it. And there are many ways we can feel. And example for me, my neck pain, physical tension, whatever I was feeling, I found relief feeling it and crying, for example. Mm-hmm. So for many people, it's like, how can something in my physical body can find ace with crying or with moving my physical body and doing a tap shake, all of these things. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I find it really interesting because it seems to me like the pain isn't so much about the pain, right? It's about how we feel about the pain. And that is, and then what we make that feeling about the pain, what we make that mean. And that's what I think really recirculates the pain, is how we're feeling about it, what we're making it mean. And that starts to become part of our identity. And when we identify with something, it really recreates it and it keeps it into our experience. And lots of times that pain and the way that we feel about it, it's protecting us in some way. Right. Yes. So there's so many ways to get with this stuff of like, what am I getting out of this condition, this pain, this disease process? What am I getting out of it? Like, what are some of the benefits of me being in this process? And so I think there's a lot of value in adding value to the experience, right? Because if we're not adding value to it, then we're not really gaining the wisdom of the experience, and we're mostly just a victim to the experience. And when we're a victim to the experience, we're making it mean something. We have an emotional process with it, and it just really recirculates and recreates the experience. So when we can have the freedom of allowing ourselves to feel it fully without making it mean anything at all, it permissions this liberation. And it's freeing to the identity, and it creates the opportunity for novelty, for a new experience.
It wasn't easy when I was dealing with a trial, when I was dealing after my car accident, that I hurt someone else, that I had to do with, the insurance, with law, with all of these things. It wasn't a pleasant moment for me to live. But I remember that my intention was to live it fully, because if I don't live fully and experience to the best of my capability what I have in front of me, how am I gonna get the learnings, the gifts, and how am I gonna get what I was meant to get from this experience? Not if the experience is good or bad. If I don't live it fully, how am I gonna able to get these blessings from whatever the experience? And second part of my reflection is, how am I gonna go next? Like, I'm waiting to jump and not live what I need to live. And if I do that, I am missing out of this human experience that at the end it's what we want, to be whole, aware, to be living life to the fullest. I remember that was my intention of the program, and it's coming here. Like, yeah. So yeah, that was my reflection on being
I love
able
that.
to really live all of the experience to the fullest. You need to enjoy the experience, enjoy it to the fullest. And sometimes you need to cry it out to the fullest or dance it out to the fullest. And that's going to be okay also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think a big part of what I've been bringing into the containers lately, and I'm sure we worked with it quite a bit, is like you had mentioned, like permissioning the part that feels upset or in fear or frustrated, and permissioning it to have its experience. And when we permission it, we're actually creating some level of like, this is just part of my experience. It's not me, right? And so I've been diving into IFS, internal family systems, parts work, and I find it works really well with the somatic respiratory integration, because we're working with specific parts of the body that are holding, specific energy. And it's like, when I feel upset or when I feel like a knot in my stomach, when I start talking about the challenge, that's how I feel about the challenge. It's not the challenge itself, right? And then when we start to create some separation about the challenge and how I feel about it, and I start to have some more acceptance with it, then it allows it to move through.
Yes.
And so it's really like integrating the parts that are in suffering around the challenge, right? And so we're really looking at liberating the suffering, because our circumstance in life in itself is meaningless. It's what we put meaning onto it. And so when we can see the meaning that we're creating, then we can we can unpack it, and we can start to see like, oh, this is how I create meaning in my life, and this is recreating my life. How can I get with the parts of me that are creating this meaning, and how can I get their needs met directly, versus like having some level of a disease process, having a car accident, um, so life doesn't have to like present it in such a harsh way. We can really just
Yes.
start becoming self-aware and meeting these things ourselves.
Yes. Yes, totally. And I I was having this flashback of when I started to know somatic respiratory integration that you mentioned a little bit. And I remember I was amazed because all parts of healing were valid. You could feel the hype of, you were very happy because you were thriving on this, blah, 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 blah. But it was allowed to feel a full human experience. All of the parts of me, the parts that felt that weren't seen, that the needs weren't being met, that I have spent years, just not knowing how to connect. And also something that comes to me is how, when we're doing these exercises, we aren't relating to this as fake positivity, or is it how I should feel? We like how you're really like, it doesn't matter whatever you're feeling, it's okay, whatever it is. But what we're doing is that we are acknowledging whatever it is that you have. We're bringing into awareness whatever it is that we have, then we bring it into acknowledge. We are able to feel it. And for me, the thing that was like, wow, somatic respiratory integration is amazing, was because no matter which parts of me, if it was parts that were feeling guilt or that were hurt or unseen, or parts that were super excited, I was able to have breathwork exercises to explain somehow to that specific part of what I was needing. And I know you'll explain a little bit in a minute, but basically, I was able to use my body, breathing exercises, awareness, pure awareness, all of these things we have been talking about, to use my, it's like you are able to use your physical body to move mental, emotional, physical stuff. And at the end, it's based on being present with whatever it is. But yeah, tell us more about SRI, the 12 stages of healing, that we can have a part of ourselves that feels fully healed and other parts of ourselves that don't. And this duality, this duality, I just remember about that duality, that they can both coexist. Yeah.
Yeah. It's powerful. I think the most essential part of SRI that I've been working with more recently is finding resource, right? So like in the 12 stages, the higher stages of awakening, I'll explain for your listeners. The 12 stages of healing is a modality that uses breath, awareness, acknowledgements, and really engaging with our own energy around all of our different parts, from stages of suffering and discovery, from stages of transformation and claiming power, to stages of awakening and experiencing liberation, freedom, community. And it's a map that maps out all of these different stages of consciousness that live within us. And a lot of people, I find, are identified with those states and stages of consciousness. And they're kind of sometimes hanging out in just a couple of stages, right? And I'll go through them just so we can have some. There's like states of suffering, states of blame or shame, states of feeling stuck, states of claiming power, states of merging through the illusion of our challenges, states of feeling ready and being ready to overcome the challenges. There's states of resolution, there's states of spaciousness and emptiness, there's states of receiving, states of ascension, states of giving and receiving our gifts at the highest level, and there's states of community. And the beautiful thing about this practice is having the awareness of like, oh shit, what state or stage of consciousness am I actually coming from? And they all have specific, like, they top out at specific levels of energy, right? And if we're in a state or stage of suffering, our thoughts and our emotions will reflect that. And the best thing that we can really do at that point in time is to, one, find a resource, which it might be another person. It might be placing our awareness on a part of ourselves that feels more safe and grounded. And so we want to find, this is kind of the duality that you're speaking about, is like, we want to find resource, right? Because resource is what's actually going to liberate the suffering. And so the first part is like, well, how can I get resource? Where can I get energy? Where can I get support here? And then the other aspect is getting with the getting directly with the suffering, getting with whatever is emerging in the moment. And if we can toggle back and forth between the suffering and the resource, we can start to unwind the suffering. We can start to bring resource to the suffering. We can break the illusion that we are the suffering, right? We can be like, oh, there's parts of me that are in resource, or you can reflect to me where there is resource. And then there are parts of me that are in suffering, and that's okay. That's part of the human experience. And it really starts to become magical when we can start to layer these on top of each other. We can be like, oh, in one moment, I can feel actually all of it, and it's totally okay. I can feel that there's part of me that's suffering. There's part of me that's like, doesn't feel safe with what's happening. But there's part of me that fully knows and fully trusts. And there's part of me that like knows my power and knows my essence. And I can allow myself to resource myself, right? So that I'm not like minimized to the suffering and identified with the suffering. I can start to identify with something greater. And so this is kind of where the healing and the awakening process starts to overlap, where I can start to resource states of awakening into my suffering, and I can start to like surrender my suffering to something larger than myself.
Yes, I love this. And also loved how it's okay to have all parts. I find a lot that people want, when they're on a healing journey, they want to get to a goal. And it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm done, I'm healed. And then I'm like, no, you're not done. Like the day you're done, it's when you're dead. And till that day comes, you will have all of these parts available. And the beauty is to be able to be aware and acknowledge and accept all of them, because that's living the full human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, like I don't like using the word healed either.
Yeah.
And because the truth is like we're always in relationship with all of these different parts. And so we want to stay in, like, maybe the relationship has been healed to a new level and there's a new baseline of connection with that aspect of ourselves. But it doesn't mean that it's like completely over, or that doesn't like, and that also, like, that philosophy really impacts our relationship with the disease process. It doesn't mean that we're sick even, right? It just means that we have, maybe our connection or that relationship with that aspect to ourselves isn't in coherence, right?
Yes. Yes. And when
There
you're
isn't
able,
love there.
yeah, what parts of me need attention? What I am neglecting that? Why is my body, trying to communicate this way, and bringing a lot of more curiosity towards ourselves and towards the messages that could be, if we start to cultivate that awareness, that yes, love it. What has been helpful for you to help you stay connected and navigate the different seasons and changes of life with more ease?
Yeah, that's a really beautiful question. My I think that there's two answers here. The first one is, it's like, as a practitioner, being in my gifts is a really powerful tool for me, right? Like being in my magic, being of service, serving other people, And so like, I think that that's a really, we can probably share this more. That's a really beautiful position to be in. And I want to just like share this, that we're all experiencing very similar things, right? From my vantage point, having the opportunity to talk with a lot of people ranging from all success levels, right? 7, 8 figure business owners to people who are just getting started. And so being able to see that and work with all ranges of people, and acknowledging that we're all experiencing a very similar journey, right? That's like, it's unique and it's also very similar. And it's very unique to us individually, but it reminds me that I'm not alone in our journey. And so that feels supportive to me, and it feels supportive to be my gift and to offer a loving reflection to people and to be of service. And then the other thing that's been so helpful for me is to be in healing containers myself and to receive support. Like I receive a lot of support, and I recognize, especially as a healer, that the better support that I receive, the better support that I can actually give. And it's like, it's this constant evolving, changing, upgrading part or aspect of myself, where it's like life is continuously being revealed to me, and I'm continuously making meaning out of it. And it's so supportive to have reflections in that process, because I know the way that I make meaning out of life is impacting my life moving forward. And so really beautiful supports, healing communities. That's why I'm in Boulder right now, is I'm part of a community called Luminous Awareness Institute, which is a 2-year program in the healing awakening process. And so I'm about to be entering a 5-day retreat with them. And, those types of containers allows me to continuously glimpse higher levels of awareness, higher resource and access to the field, to truth, to love. And then I get to infuse that into my work, and I get to infuse that into my life.
Yes, love it, love it. I think it's super important and a great reminder that no matter how many tools we think we have, it's beyond tools. It's about being contained. It's about the energetics and all the other things beyond this physical body, and how everything at the end just integrates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Are there any last reflections or something you feel like you would like to share to anyone listening that could be of help?
Mm. I think, yeah, simply, it seems like to me that you work with people who are working on their physical healing journey, and they might be engaging in healing journeys in all realms. And regardless, I think it's important to know that the nature of our mind is to judge and assess and position ourselves to the world in specific ways. And I think with just knowing that that's the nature of the mind, is to kind of judge what's happening. There's a reminder to watch that process and to assess and see if we can have a level of love and compassion for whatever we're judging, because the nature of judgment has a constriction. And when we constrict something, even if we're judging our judger, right, there's a constrictive nature to it. So it's like, you mentioned the word curiosity, which I really love, and just like looking at life from a curious lens of like, oh, wow, that's interesting that I made it mean that, and I'm judging it this way. And in this moment, can I just like be with that and accept that and love that? And how am I going to choose to move forward and honor what's happening and honor myself and where I'm going? So yeah, I guess that's how I'd love to wrap it up.
Yes.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much. I love it. I feel that it's a very powerful conversation, topics that we don't get to hear so often. I appreciate this time, this space. To anyone listening, if you're looking to get connected with Dr. Allen, live in his social media on the links below. Are you available for help? Are there any containers that could be interesting for anyone that's looking forward to this next level of awareness and just pure bliss? Because that's how I felt. And I feel like whenever I do stuff from your containers, because I still go back. I
Good.
just feel that pure bliss and just wow, like life is just so amazing. So yeah, with that being said, are you available for help? Where in the world, online, physical? Let us know.
Yeah, beautiful. The best way to find me is on the Instagram, and I'm hosting and launching a program that starts June 6th. So I hope that this podcast can come out before that. So
Yes, it's coming out this weekend, so no
okay,
worries.
amazing. Yeah, the container's not fully full. There's going to be 12 participants in that container. It's a 4-month container, and really amazing kind of process of going through healing and awakening processes with co-regulation techniques. That's something I really added in, which is group support, like the group supporting itself in many ways. And then there's a focus in this container around financial abundance as well, and it's geared more towards healers, practitioners, therapists, and working on the receiving process. And then for anyone who is in Costa Rica or traveling to Costa Rica, I just started working in person in Costa Rica, in Osara. So I get back on the 31st of this month, and I'll be working with people in person there, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, those are the 2 places to find me.
Love it. I love it. And I will plan because for people listening, I'm here in Panama. That's next to Costa Rica. And it's been 2 years since at least I have known Dr. Allen. And I'm like, hey, now we're next to each other. We have to go visit each other. So when I try finally an in-person session, I will record an episode on that for sure. And yes, I'm so happy for everyone listening to just this beautiful energy that we have shared. And yes, thank you. Thank you for this time. And we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Mar.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.